Thing you probably have often heard me say time and time again, particularly as I say in the local authority election when I talked about one and back a few months ago, I suppose December last year, I suppose nearly this time last year, I said I wasn't one in the local authority election this year coming, but obviously that's last year. But long story short, I always said if I did one for Dáil or if I did one for the local authority, I wouldn't have any election posters. I always said that because every day of the week during elections, etc., etc., you see them in ditches. You see them in everywhere. You see them just everywhere but the polls. And not even that. Every poll in the country for the next 3 weeks, literally every bit of it. Like, it's quite insane. Like, even taking back to the local tower, there was about 5 or 6 on each poll posters. Like, it's just insane amount of posters. And all of them usually paid for the taxpayer. Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin, mainstream political parties, you and I pay for them. Isn't that nice? The independent man, the independent woman has to put their hand in the pocket to pay for it, which is not fair in that terms either. But long story short, the question is, and I suppose the question to many people, do you think posters are still relevant? Because obviously, if you ask the majority of people, they would say social media, because obviously long by the days, years ago it was more or less posters, the same with advertisements and feds, etc., etc. Usually was posters, you see them in the town hall. I often remember even when the local community centre where I grew up to be feds and stuff like that on posters. This is in the 2003. Nowadays you wouldn't see one at all. Because it's all online, it's on community WhatsApps, etc., etc. It's not on in posters and things like that. So that's the old fashioned way. Even 20 years ago, less than 20 years ago, that was the way. In 2005, 2006, I still remember seeing posters. Nowadays, you wouldn't find one for love of money. It's all on WhatsApps, tickets on WhatsApp, etc. So it's a different world compared to back then, only a few years ago. But long story short, a lot of people nowadays don't pass any marks to posters as what they see on their phone, and usually too it goes by what they see on social media, etc., etc. That's where the majority of people get their news nowadays, not the mainstream media, OT, etc., etc. If you were listening to OT, you hear everything is fine, everything is fine, everything is fine, constantly. Fine Gael the best, Simon House is the best, he's best to slice bread, etc., 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 and so on and so and forth and so on. So you understand why people would say, let's get an alternative voice in the phrase, and let's look up social media, take for example, to see what people are saying there. And obviously it doesn't favour Fine Gael anyway. When you look at social media for 5 minutes, Irish Twitter or anything like that, not too fond of the old Fine Gael, which I wouldn't really blame them, but long story short, getting off topic here, but it is really out of touch, really. In my opinion, posters. I do think word of mouth is still important. I've said this before. Just talking to people, friends talking to friends and saying about candidates, etc., etc. I do think that's even more, like, it is important just to hear what other people have to say. Because you know yourself, if you're down in the pub and you're one few people and Johnny and Mary are there and you're, I don't know who you could say, Patrick or something like that. And Patrick goes and says to Johnny, Mary, I had that fellow there, McBride, up the road. He's running for the old Sinn Féin, right, take for example. Just Sinn Féin, for example. Could be the Labour Party, whatever one. Just hypothetically. That O'Brien fellow said he's going to mend all the roads. He's going to make, I don't know, he's going to keep the cows safe. He's not going to make sure that Eamon Ryan gets his way. He's going to protect the cows. And he said, oh gosh, that man, we need him in Dáil and we need to get him in. Take for example, Johnny Mary, like, I love the cows, I want to drink milk and I want to have beef. I don't want to eat the bug. And they'd be like, oh, for O'Brien. And then when O'Brien gets in, it goes the opposite way. But anyway, long story short, it's all about word of mouth, what other people take. Because again, a lot of things, I often heard people, it's when other people give their opinions to a lot of people like, and the same with me. I've hold judgment, I suppose, in a lot. That's why I'm not talking about the candidates at the moment. I will give it a while, just to hear what only people around Cavan take about them. Take for example, just to hear what they have to say. And they might sway, when a lot of them won't sway me, but just I listen to what people have said. Of course, I'm going to listen to everything and make up my own mind then. Let's put it that way. And judge them very harshly, of course. But, that's the way it should be. But I suppose I'm getting really off topic here. I have a lot to say, let's put it that way, about elections and stuff like that. But I do take posters, particularly. I think there should be a limit on posters in towns because it's insane, and especially in big towns. Cavan Town, for example, it was insane. The last general election was insane. Like, every post in the place was covered. And it should be a ban, to be told, because again, as I say, the majority of them end up on the roads falling off. Because again, they're only hold up by small cable ties. That's really it. There's no really big thing holding them up. It's cable ties. If you even cut them a small bit, what it does. Or they fall off with the wind. Again, being up on the pole, you're exposed to the wind, etc., etc. It can happen. We'll come across hundreds of them. We're still coming across them. There's one still up there. Even though I've made a video on it, etc., showing that it's still there from the European election. It's insane. But again, there's some probably still around the country just lying on poles from the European election. It's quite mad to think about it. But I do think it's social media now that's really dry. Take for example the woman behind me. Really, social media really won a lot of votes, to be told, and word of mouth too. Not so much in person, because again, it's a different road over there campaign, because there's no like calling to people's houses or sending things in the post. It's people turning out to town squares, etc., to hear speakers. It's not so much here where they come banging on your door for votes and then you never see them again after you vote for them. But into the next election. But that doesn't happen in Finland, so it's a different way, because people have to participate, I suppose, the way, and actually engage on social media or in a town square, for example, because nobody calls around. And nobody puts posters really. It's only in town squares there's posters on who's won and etc. Like the whole place is not just covered in posters, which in a way I suppose you could say it's better. That's a good way, because to be totally honest, I think everybody in the head would be sick in the head listening to all the candidates coming around saying I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the other, I get this and I get that and I get the other, and still and then you never see them again when they get elected. And to the next time, and then they come again saying, "Oh, I do this, do that, do the other," and then when they get elected, do nothing again, because it's a constant cycle. But the other thing I'm just watching ways, and I'm here yapping and talking and yapping, I suppose is the way to describe it. But the other thing is, and I suppose it's to do with the Family Foundation. I suppose there could be done a whole video on it, but just briefly when I'm here, when I have it in my head, particularly in relation to TDs, I suppose councillors too, to a certain extent. Back maybe even 30 years ago, you could just waltz into a constituency office for your local TD. Take for example, I don't know, at the top of my head, can't think of it. Danny Healy, well maybe Danny Healy still has his office because of Kerry. But take for example, I don't know who you could say, Damien English or something like that. You could just waltz into his office at any point of the day and get talking to him. If he was there, say on a Friday, every Friday, take for example, you had his constituency office. Nowadays, TDs don't hold constituencies office. You can't find them in the constituency office. They won't hold constituencies. A majority of TDs don't. And if they do, there's once every in the blue moon. It's not like constantly, which it should be really, in a way, it should be really twice a week. And we're not twice a week, obviously when the doll is on, there's a good bit. But at most once a week, being generous, once a week. Because again, it's important for public representatives to meet the people. Because again, when they hide themselves away from people, they're not going to be held accountable to their actions. And particularly too, if you wing them up nowadays, you always get speaking to secretaries. I always find that when I'm winging TDs, etc. You wait you wait a few weeks to get them to wing back, etc. You don't get to talking to them directly. It's always through the middleman, and the middleman has to tell the other man, like the TD, and it's load of bullshit, because you're better speaking to the person yourself. Because again, at the end of the day, I never knew of a person that just wanted to wing his like say for example a secretary, just to talk about the problems. They want to talk to the person themselves that they elected, or it's representing them, again paid by the taxpayers, I say too. But it's an important thing to bring up too, because you can't get through to your TD. You try and get through to your TD now in the morning, by maybe you may have better luck, but a lot of times they just ignore it if they don't like what's said, or if you question them on things, they just pretend they never got it. But anyway, thank you.